My name is Deanna, and just months ago, I thought I had a stable life. I worked from home, cared for my daughter, and tried to be a good wife to my husband, Jeff. We'd been married for several years. Things weren't perfect, but they were steady. At least that's what I believed. Jeff had always been close to his family, especially his mother and sister. I didn't mind that at first. I tried to be respectful, visiting during holidays, calling on birthdays, even inviting them over for meals. But slowly, something began to change. Jeff grew distant, cold. He stopped talking to me like he used to. I thought it was stress, maybe something at work. But then the complaints started. "You're always with your mom," he'd say. "You ignore me. You care more about your mother than your husband." The thing is, my mother was sick, and I had started helping her more often, visiting, managing her hospital trips, cooking for her. I tried to explain this to Jeff. I still worked full-time, took care of the house, and made sure our daughter Stacy had everything she needed. Jeff, on the other hand, barely helped. He acted like I was failing him simply by caring for someone else. One evening, I got a call from Jeff's sister, Nicole. Her voice was sharp and cold. "You've been ignoring Jeff," she said flatly. "You've abandoned your duties as a wife." I stood there, stunned, the phone pressed to my ear. "What are you talking about?" I asked. Nicole didn't hold back. "You've been running around after your mom, leaving Jeff to suffer." Then she added, "If this keeps up, Mom might come down there herself." I was speechless. It felt like they were planning something behind my back, and I was the only one who didn't know. As if her warning wasn't enough, a few days later, I came home after visiting my mother and was greeted by a shocking sight. My mother-in-law was cooking in my kitchen. I walked in, too stunned to speak. She looked at me without warmth and said, "Oh, you're back. Sit down. We need to talk." What followed was a long, cold lecture. She said I was disrespecting Jeff, neglecting my home, and failing my role as a wife. I tried to defend myself, but every word was dismissed. When I mentioned that Stacy helped with the chores and that Jeff rarely did anything, she screamed at me, accusing me of lying and trying to poison the family. That night, Jeff was in a weirdly cheerful mood. He smiled a lot, offered to help around the house, and even brought me flowers. It felt fake. Stacy noticed it too. "Why is Dad acting so weird?" she whispered to me. I didn't know. So we kept quiet and watched. Then, just as suddenly as he'd become cheerful, he grew cold again. My mother passed away not long after, and Stacy and I spent a few days sorting through her things. I texted Jeff and told him we'd be back home the next day. He replied, "Take your time, relax." It felt off, but I was too tired from grieving to read into it. The next afternoon, Stacy and I returned home. As we turned the corner, I saw a moving truck parked in front of our house. Confused, I hurried closer and saw Jeff, Nicole, and his mother unloading boxes. I ran up, panic rising in my chest. "What's going on?" Jeff looked at me calmly and said, "You're back early." "It's too late now. I'm moving in with my family. You two need to leave." I froze. Stacy clutched my arm tightly. "What do you mean?" I asked, trembling. "You're kicking us out?" Jeff crossed his arms and said, "Yes. This is my decision." His mother stood proudly behind him, smiling like she'd won. Movers continued unloading boxes. I stood there, helpless, watching strangers carry furniture into my house. My house. Then Stacy stepped forward and asked Jeff something that made everyone freeze. "Dad, you didn't know?" Her voice was calm but serious. Jeff looked confused. "Know what?" he asked. Nicole, still giving orders to the movers, finally stopped and turned around. Everyone stared as I took a deep breath and said, "This house belongs to me." The silence was deafening. Jeff's smug expression cracked. "That's not true," he snapped. Nicole laughed and said, "How could you afford this place?" I calmly replied, "My mother renovated it and gifted it to me. This was my family's home. It's in my name." Jeff's face turned pale. His parents looked at each other, completely shocked. Nicole stepped forward and said, "Well, no one told us that. This changes everything." I didn't flinch. I said, You were so quick to throw us out, but this house was never yours to begin with." Then Stacy, brave as ever, added, "Grandma left the house and everything else to me and Mom. We found the will. Dad gets nothing." Nicole gasped. Jeff turned red with anger. "You hid this from me?" he yelled. I stared at him. "Number. You never cared to ask. You were too busy scheming behind my back." That's when Nicole snapped. "This is marriage fraud! You tricked us!" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "I didn't trick anyone." "You all just assumed I had nothing," but Jeff was already spiraling. "Fine," he shouted. "If that's how it is, let's get a divorce." His mother clapped, saying, "Good, we'll get compensation from her too." I looked straight at her and said, "Sure." I agreed to the divorce. Everyone paused. Then I added, "By the way, the house is already on the market. We're moving soon." That stunned them. Jeff stammered, "Wait, what?" I explained, "We were going to move to a smaller place closer to Stacy's new school. This house is already sold. The new owners will be moving in next month." They had nothing to say. The trap they tried to set for me had backfired. Jeff began to panic. "So, we have nowhere to live?" I shrugged. "That's not my problem." Then Stacy stepped up again, looking directly at Jeff. "Dad, maybe now you understand how it feels to be ignored and treated like nothing. That's what you did to us." Jeff's face turned white. I almost felt sorry for him, but then I remembered all the things he said, the way he treated us. He made his choice. He threw us out and now expected sympathy. But there was none left. Nicole tried to take control again. "Fine, then we'll take everything we've moved in and go." But as she spoke, Jeff's mother returned, holding divorce papers. "Here, sign these now," she said to me, out of breath. I took them, looked them over, then handed them straight to Jeff. "You sign first," I said. He hesitated, then suddenly shouted, "You planned all this." I replied, "No." "You planned to betray me. I just planned to survive it." That made him furious. He grabbed the pen and scribbled his name. I filled in my part calmly. Then came the final blow. I told them, "You have until tomorrow to remove all your stuff. Otherwise, it'll be cleared by the new owners." Nicole screamed, "This is insane," and tried to argue. Jeff's father, who had stayed quiet all this time, finally yelled at her, "Why didn't you tell us the house wasn't his?" It turned into chaos. The movers, who had been watching awkwardly, stepped in to calm things down. Then someone must have called the police, because red and blue lights showed up moments later. The neighbors stood on their porches, watching the scene unfold. Police officers stepped in and separated everyone. When Jeff's family wouldn't calm down, officers put Jeff and Nicole in cuffs for resisting and disturbing the peace. His parents were taken for questioning. I gave my statement quietly from the back seat of a patrol car. Stacy sat beside me, holding my hand. We watched as Jeff's entire plan crumbled in front of him, and we felt nothing but relief. The divorce was finalized soon after. I sold the house and used the money to move into a peaceful home with Stacy. Jeff had to start paying child support, and since he lost his job after word of the incident spread, he now works multiple part-time jobs to keep up. Nicole lost her beauty consultant job due to her behavior. His parents ended up divorcing, and neither one can show their faces in the neighborhood anymore. What they planned to take from me ended up destroying their own lives. Stacy and I now live in a new town, a new home, and a new chapter of peace. She transferred schools and made new friends. I work from home and finally sleep without worry. Looking back, I realized that being kicked out was the best thing that could have happened, because it showed me who they really were. My husband brought in the luggage of my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, then kicked me and my daughter out. But I answered, with truth, strength, and a door that closed behind them forever.